Being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
We're behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. Then when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. Do that, we'll be all right.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Football University with me, former University of Alabama player Matt Caddell, where we discuss everything football related. Thank you for everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. We got a big announcement coming up for all the Roll Tide fans out there. We talk football here at Football University, and we find ways to bring it back to Alabama. But big announcement, everybody. Football University will be moving to Monday nights. Football University will be moving to Monday nights. It will be 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. So put that in your calendar. All the students in Football University will be moving to Monday nights, I believe, starting next week. So it's exciting. We're ready to roll. Let's get things started. So Football University, let's talk about it. You know I love to dive in and talk about things that really impressed me for the weekend. And, you know, I like to start in the NFL. And Roll Tide to all the fans out there, RTR to all the fans. So I got to start with, in the NFL, you know I like to start in the NFL. Can we talk about how the San Francisco 49ers had that big game versus the Miami Dolphins? Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniels, coaching tree, but DeMeco Ryans' led defense was unbelievable. He has the nastiest defense in the NFL, led by Nick Bosa. They actually had Tua struggling. I mean, Tua had the big play opening drive to Jeff Wilson, like a 70-yard touchdown pass, and you think, wow, Miami's rolling. But kudos to this DeMeco Ryans-led defense. The 49ers end up losing Jimmy Garoppolo, but Brock Purdy ended up coming in. Mr. Irrelevant became Mr. Relevant against the Dolphins. Went back and forth. Although Miami had the opportunity with 6 minutes left they were only down by a touch, 6 points, I believe. They had the opportunity, but they were not able to execute. But kudos to DeMeco Ryans and his physical defense. I mean, I cannot give DeMeco Ryans enough credit. Tua, you know, he did have 2 big TDs with Tyreek Hill. But he was a little banged up. But, man, DeMeco Ryans. One thing that really impressed me about the San Francisco 49ers defense is how intelligent and how much awareness they play with. I mean, they had to play the guy picked it off, but Fred Warner he was so aware he was able to jump over the guy, just show crazy athleticism and intelligence. So really impressed with the San Francisco 49ers. And I got to bring it back to Alabama, to all the Alabama fans out there. We just got to get better defensive play. And one good thing I love to talk about the 49ers, I like to dig in. Kyle Shanahan actually challenged Nick Bosa in the defensive line and was telling him to watch film. He said that he told the D-line, listen, your linebackers, Fred Warner and Greenlaw, are outplaying my defensive line. And the defensive line took that personally, led by D'Amico Ryans, and they were able to go out there and just manhandle Miami Dolphins offensive front. Nick Bosa had like 3 sacks. We will bring up Nick Bosa later, kind of talk about who could be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm high on Micah Parsons, but kudos to the San Francisco 49ers. Let's get into the student section. Please keep the comments rolling. Let's see. Shouts out to Nick Saban Jr. What are your thoughts on the 49ers? I just gave you my thoughts there. Complete team, even with losing Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Brock Purdy, the way Kyle Shanahan calls plays, I think they're going to be able to be effective. The key is with the 49ers, how good are they going to be when playoff time comes? Going playing teams like Dallas in the AFC is going to be really tough. But hey, they got D'Amico Ryans, man, who I think should be an NFL head coach along with Eric Bieniemy. D'Amico Ryans, I can see him being a head coach, so he will be number 1 on my list. Let's go. Roll Tide, Spencer. RTR, all the fans out there. Let's see. We have a question. Somebody said the current 49ers defense reminds me of the Bama Standard defense. I totally agree. I would love my praise to have D'Amico Ryans be the next head coach at the University of Alabama. If he was able to be, my Christmas wish list would be to have D'Amico Ryans come be our D coordinator. And because Saban hire him to be like the head coach in waiting or whatnot. But the way he's got those guys playing around, very impressed with their physicality, intelligence, and awareness. And to bring it back to Alabama, that's what the Tide needs to get back to defensively. We need to be able to be intelligent but physical and play complementary football. That would be a constant theme that I feel like will separate teams this year. RTR to all the fans out there. So let's keep it rolling. All the students get in the student section. That's what we're going to call the comment section. It's the student section for all the football university students. We talked about the San Francisco 49ers playing Tua, playing Mike McDaniels. Tua was struggling. Mike McDaniel was struggling. So you can see that D'Amico Ryans-led defense was just unreal. They have the scariest defense in the league. And another team that really impressed me, we talked about the 49ers, but let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, everybody. They played the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were able to, again, beat the Chiefs again. And it was one of those close games led by Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor. The way the Cincinnati Bengals were able to play at home, their offense, they got Jamar Chase back. And, to set this game up, Justin Reed ran his mouth talking about T. Higgins and how he was going to lock these Cincinnati Bengals receivers down. Hey, don't write checks that your mouth can't cash, okay, buddy? Because the Bengals used that as motivation, and they went out there and they were effective. Shout out to all the Bengals fans, Who Dey Nation out there. But listen, kudos. Like I said last week, all the students that were on the show last week, I told you, Joe Burrow is sliding up my MVP ranking. We will finish it. I will discuss that later in the show. But the Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase completely handled the Kansas City Chiefs. And, I'm a big Chiefs. I'm a big Eric Bieniemy fan. But they were able to capitalize on some plays. So let's get to the fans, RTR. Let's see. Somebody said, how about the Golden Tampa Bay big comeback win? Yes, the GOAT, Tom Brady. I mean, another fourth quarter comeback. He was down, 13 points, 6 minutes or so, 3 minutes left in the game. He comes back. Tampa Bay is one of those teams that really has a really good defense led by Todd Bowles. But the offense, they're only scoring, 16, 17 points. I know it's a divisional rivalry versus the Saints, but I still think Tampa Bay comes out of that division to win the NFC South. But you never know with Tom Brady. If they could get more offense, get healthy, I think they will be effective. RTR, let's see what we have. Go Bucks with the score. What are your feelings on the Washington Commanders at this point? I think they're playing good football right now. Nick Saban Jr. I mean, the student section is so awesome. The Washington Commanders, one thing about the Washington Commanders, they're one of those teams that has a defense that's good enough. And they're about to get Chase Young back with the front four, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Sweat, Jamin Davis at linebacker. We know Brian Robinson, who's just running physical, running style, probably the best rookie running back. We all love his story. Brian Robinson, just how physical he is. Tyler Heineke. With the Washington Commanders, they have a Super Bowl enough ready defense that if their offense can score, Tyler Heineke can score at least 25, 26 points, the Commanders can make some noise. I was a little bit disappointed against the game versus New York Giants. Brian Daboll, Ron Rivera, the Commanders playing up in MetLife Stadium. It went into an overtime, and it went into a tie. I'm not a big fan of tie games. I'm sorry. This is what we talk about at the Football University. Let me know if you like the NFL rules when it comes to tie. I'm sorry. Keep the game going. That's one thing I love about the college game. It's not perfect, but at least we find a way to get a winner. You have to persevere. You have to endure. So I was a little disappointed that the game ended in a tie, and I'm kind of bummed on the NFL version of ties. So let's get back to the student section. Thank you for that question. Let's see. We got Go Bengals. Let's keep it rolling. So we talked about the Commanders. We talked about the 49ers. Let's talk about another team who's really doing well, who I was really impressed with. And I got to shout out, Fly Eagles Fly, Jalen Hurts, who right now is leading after week 13 is my top candidate for MVP. Teams that put on the clinic, DeMeco Ryans, the San Francisco 49ers defense, Burrow, Cincinnati, how they handled the Chiefs. But, man, when I say Philadelphia, I mean Jalen Hurts was in his back. Nick Sirianni going against the Titans, going against King Henry, Mike Vrabel. You had the whole A.J. Brown trade. A.J. Brown was hungry, ready to get revenge on his old team. We didn't know how the Titans were going to come out, but listen, kudos to Jalen Hurts, who put on the absolute clinic. I think he threw for 3 touchdowns, 380 yards, going against that physical Tennessee Titans defense. Like I said, guys are just unreal. I mean, A.J. Brown made play after play, and Devontae Smith put on an absolute clinic with his route running ability. I mean, this guy is still successful in the league. Miss Devontae. But, man, A.J. Brown, the connection, Jalen Hurts is anticipating throws. He doesn't have to wait to see guys. His downfield accuracy is on another level. So, let's see. Good question. Somebody says, how do you feel about Bama getting a quarterback out of the portal? I value guys. I mentioned this yesterday. I value guys. I value recruits. I think at the end of the day, portal guys are great. If you can get a Jameson Williams or Jamar Gibbs or some of these elite talent and they can fit your system and you have coaches that utilize that, then, bring in the talent. You want to have the best roster. But I feel like Alabama doesn't really need a quarterback out of the portal. I really want to see what we do offensively. If we get a new offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien maybe goes to the NFL, go to the Patriots. Rumors about that. Maybe Brady coming back to New England, Mac Jones going to Tampa Bay. This is just some rumors that I've heard. This is what we talk about here at the Football University. But Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of rumors talking about Drake May and the quarterback from NC State. I'm high on. I want to see what we do offensive coordinator, and I like the talent that we have coming in. I mean, Milroe, we can still got to see his development, but man, I'm high on Ty Simpson. I think a lot of Bama fans have noticed kind of a shift with Bill O'Brien calling plays for Ty Simpson. I think he's more comfortable with calling plays for Ty Simpson. You see a lot more jet sweeps, a lot more aggressive offensive play calling. So that's one good thing. I still think Saban needs to bring in an OC, maybe make Bill O'Brien, if he stays, maybe a quarterback coach, whatever. But I'm high on somebody like Tulane's offensive coordinator. I really like this guy. Homework for the student section. Put in offensive coordinators who you like. Put it in the student section. But yeah, I like Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson, the way I think we can do a lot of damage with Ty Simpson. Let's see. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe. Don't forget, we're moving Football University to Monday night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so I talked about the 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, fly, Eagles, fly. And I talked about the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's go to another team I was really impressed with, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, crazy stat. I know it was a Sunday night game playing the Colts just Saturday. We all know that. Spencer says, I'm going to get to your comments, Spencer. But the Cowboys, they were able to score 33 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, that is a pretty impressive stat. They were hitting on, it was the Colts, but to put up 33 points in the fourth quarter, I thought that was pretty impressive. So let's get to the student section. Spencer had a great comment. He said, Garrett Riley. I mean, that is a great offensive coordinator. I think he's doing great with TCU. Their offense, I mean, Max Dugan, those guys are really good. I would love to have a Garrett Riley here at Bama. I mentioned Joe Brady. I know he's the quarterback's coach for the Buffalo Bills. If we go the NFL route, I think I would love to see somebody from, kind of from that Kyle Shanahan type of, coaching offensive mind. Mike McDaniels down in Miami, Buffalo Bills, Joe Brady, Ken Dorsey, a lot of those guys. Somebody talked. Nick Saban Jr. said Tom Herman. Unfortunately, Tom Herman is the head coach at FAU now. I think we got to get somebody who can, as Mike McCoy say, sauce it up. Let's get to the student section. William Bryan says, how do you feel about players leaving college before their fourth year? Aren't they shortchanging the colleges that have given them a 4-year scholarship? I mean, it is what it is. Most of these guys are, if you're a high-level talent, and if you're leaving like a Bryce or Will Anderson, if you're a junior, you go ahead and leave. Go ahead and take advantage of going into the NFL. But I always love to tell kids, this is what we do at the Football University. Get your education, graduate, get your degree. Listen, you can still make all that money, but the things that are going to be successful and last you in life is having your degree. That's going to really prepare you. So all those kids, people, friends, family that are out there at Football University, or tell young kids if they're going in the third year, still get your degree, man. It's gonna pay off. It's gonna last you for a long time. That gives you a lot of pride and power, and able to look forward and build a better life for yourself. So let's see. Go to the student section. Somebody said Dan Mullen. Hey, I like Dan Mullen. I think Dan Mullen does a lot of things on offensively. I don't know if this is true. I did hear a rumor maybe Dan Mullen, South Carolina. Speaking of South Carolina, I really like Shane Beamer, how he does operate. He takes advantage of being coming from a football family, and he gets coaches that know how to develop and recruit and set the tone and can develop. And so I think that's what Bama fans, to bring it back to Alabama, that's what we want Coach Saban to get back to, bringing in guys that can really be effective and be a dominant team. Great question, Spencer. Matt, why do you think people are ditching on Coach Prime? I don't understand. It is what it is. You have people who, because Prime did so much for I'm just saying I'm proud of Primetime. You know, the impact he's done for historically black colleges, not just at Jackson State. I mean, he changed the mindset. He changed the mentality. You know, instead of being so far behind, he really impacted at Jackson State, HBCU. He really sacrificed a lot, you know, paying a lot of things out of his own pocket, on his own money, getting these sponsorships, being able to help a program like Jackson State having college game day. I mean, he brought so much momentum, energy to HBCUs that you know, he has the impact. So I think, you know, people, you know, are dissing on him. People have various opinions, but, you know, I want to acknowledge the impact that Dion has had in the HBCUs, and that we all can help HBCUs, whether it's, you know, former NFL players, we can all help people in the community. We can help. So kind of carry that torch that Dion has done at Jackson State and kind of really helped the HBCUs. But hey, listen, Coach Prime's he's doing a big thing at Colorado. I'm excited to see what he's going to do, and I think he really put pressure in the Pac-12 on Lincoln Riley at USC. I really do see Colorado kind of taking a step more of the path of like a Utah, very physical, disciplined team, has a lot of guys that just play sound football, no mediocrity. And I think Dion is going to take advantage of the opportunity at Colorado. So let's keep going. So we talked about all the teams that I'm impressed with, and we talked about the 49ers. We talked about D'Amico Ryans led defense, Cincinnati, Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles. Let's get into my MVP conversation. I mentioned it earlier. After week 13, leading up to week 12, I had, you know, Mahomes was kind of number one. Jalen was kind of number two. But, man, after the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Chiefs and Mahomes kind of struggled, I'm going to say right now my league voter for MVP is Jalen Hurts. Mahomes 2, Tua still 3, and I think tied with Tua is Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow sliding up. And then I will go Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson kind of to be my top 5 guys. So Jalen Hurts, I think he put back-to-back NFC Offensive Players of the Week. Speaking of MVP, but I'm talking about MVPs that are non-quarterback. Josh Jacobs is putting on an absolute clinic out there in Las Vegas. So somebody's going to have to pay that man. Somebody's going to have to pay that man. Keep it coming. Students in the student section. Let's get to this comment. They say, I think the players that opt out are quitters. Yes, you get hurt, but that's football. You sit out, you disrespect your team and teammates. You sit out, you give a bus, whatever. I mean, I see you know, it is what it is. You know, a lot of kids, they're going to make, you know, business decisions. We've seen a lot of guys already opt out, whether it's a Will Levis, AR-15 already declared for the NFL. But to bring it back to Alabama, I don't really see Bryce or Will Anderson or those guys opting out. I think they're going to use it as an opportunity to really propel their career and really separate themselves. I think you got a lot on the line from Alabama. I mean, I think Alabama can use this game versus Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl versus a really good Kansas State team to really make a message, send a message to college football that, listen, Bama could go out there and really put up like maybe 50, 60 points, 70 points. I mean, this is what we talk about at Football University. Bryce throws for like 6 touchdowns because I think Bryce is going to be – he didn't make it to the Heisman list, and we all know a healthy Bryce is the best player in America, not only the best quarterback, but just overall best offensive weapon in college football. So I think Bryce is going to be motivated from that standpoint. And I think another way, Bryce is going to use this opportunity to really separate himself from CJ Stroud. A lot of people are saying that, you know, number 1 pick in the draft, it could be Stroud or Young. Me personally, I think Bryce Young is on another level than Stroud. And I think players like Bryce Young, I think they have the character. I think they're going to want to go out there and use this as an opportunity to separate themselves. I can see Bryce trying to go for like 5, 6 touchdowns and really, you know, still be the talk of the town, even though they didn't make it to the college football playoffs. So let's get there. Let's talk about Alabama. Roll Tide Roll. I know at Football University, if you've been following the show, I've been saying for the past 3 or 4 weeks, I want chaos and chaos and chaos. And we got chaos. We got chaos. We had USC lose Friday night to Utah, and we had TCU losing overtime to Kansas State. And, I was being personal. I was politicking for Alabama to get in the playoffs. And I think Alabama had a great argument. I think TCU had a great argument, but obviously the committee went with TCU. And I think a lot of people will, kind of saying Alabama could have been in. And I think, Coach Saban, I got to give Coach Saban a great point, for him to say, go out there, I think halftime of the Big Ten championship and say, listen, put the 4 best teams out there. If we play these teams, who's going to be favored? And he's right. Not half of those games, Bama's going to be favored, whether it's versus TCU or Ohio State. Bama's probably going to be a favorite. That line's going to move because everybody knows Bama has the talent. But like I said, Bama did not get in. We had chaos, but I still think Bama, as you can tell, still is the talk of college football because Alabama didn't even play a game Saturday, and yet they were the #1 top college football fan base all weekend. So that shows you the impact the University of Alabama football team has. But I do think that Alabama is going to make a big statement this Bowls game versus Kansas State because they're playing a really good Kansas State game. All Bama fans were watching the game, and kudos to Kansas State. I mean, they play a really good style of football. Duke Vaughn, the running back, is very, very nice. He's very small. He's elusive, agile. They do a lot of moving parts sets with him. Very hard blue-collar defense, guys that are in the right place, very sound discipline. So we're going to have to come correct. So we've talked about everything. We're back in college football. And since we're talking about college football, keep those comments coming, students, fans in the student section. I want to talk about the bowl season, and the games that really matchups that I feel like are really impressive overall in the college football playoffs. We talked about Bama, Kansas State. Another matchup that I'm really, really looking forward to is Utah, Penn State in the the Rose Bowl. I think that is going to be a very good game. Utah, like I mentioned earlier, those guys they play a great style of football. They're very physical. They kind of play like a SEC brand of football. So I think that matchup will be very good. Another interesting matchup that I believe is very intriguing in the college football bowl season. I'm like, it's a lot of orange, but in the Clemson, Tennessee, I think that's going to be kind of an interesting game. I know it's this crazy internet rumor saying that the big-time recruit, Nico Limaluva, is going to play in this game. They found some loophole, but I don't know if that's the NCAA is going to allow that. That Tennessee Clemson game, I know Clemson changed their quarterback. DJ Ugalop, the former number 5 quarterback, he's in the portal. So they went with Caleb Kubiak. They look very impressive. They beat North Carolina. That Tennessee is going to be a lot of orange, but that Tennessee Clemson game is another intriguing matchup. On top of that, Utah, Penn State. We mentioned Bama, KSU. Another intriguing matchup. I know it's going to be here in Atlanta, but Georgia, Ohio State. I want to really see, how this game really plays out. We know Ohio State travels well, but that's going to be a kind of a crazy matchup. Although I got Georgia, beating Ohio State, but that game could be kind of it could be kind of tricky. I think Ohio State kind of matches up a little bit better versus Georgia more so than they did versus Michigan, if that makes sense. But we know Georgia's rolling. They put up 50 in the SEC championship. Stetson Bennett, running the ball. Defensively, those guys are rolling. They use the tight ends, Brock Bowers, Washington. They make plays. So let's go to the student section. Let's see. Nick Saban Jr. says, do you think this is starting to see a downfall in Alabama if Saban doesn't make changes? Yeah, I mean, definitely if Saban doesn't make changes, but I think Saban will make changes, especially offensively and defensively. I think Saban's got to make a change. And, I think the smart thing would do, if Hugh Freeze can come coach at Auburn, I'm going to hire Jeremy Pruitt as my D coordinator. He's going to be like my head D coordinator. I will let move Pete Golden maybe to safeties. Let him kind of be co-D coordinator, move Freddie Roach to coach linebackers, maybe bring in a D-line coach like a Bo Davis that coach the D-line, bring Sal Sinceri back onto the field, just kind of get my football guys, think tanks guys there. Then offensively, I'll bring in the offensive coordinator who has really good offensive coordinator in the college game, and it's some good cut. I'm really high. Listen, guys, I'm very high on Tulane's offensive coordinator. I think his name's Jeff Svoboda. This guy gets it. I've watched 2 of their games, and I have been so impressed with how he calls the game. He plays complimentary football, and I feel like that's the biggest frustration when it comes to Alabama fans watching Alabama play. It's like we don't have coordinators that call complimentary football. It's like Bill O'Brien calls this, Pete Golden calls this, and it's very stressful. And it's not complimentary football as accustomed to how we have been having, Alabama football. You look at a Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin combination, such Sarkisian, even Golden, they were complimentary. So I think Coach Saban's got to iron out that offensive situation, bring in like a Jeremy Pruitt to be kind of the co-DC. Somebody said Tulane might embarrass USC. Listen, Tulane's offensive coordinator, Coach Saban, if you tune into Football University, we're moving to Monday nights, but look at Tulane's offensive coordinator. I really like this guy. I can only imagine what he would do with an Isaiah Bond, Apprentice, a Simpson, Roydell, a McClellan, Justin Hayes, Richard. The list, it can get unreal. So I think Coach Saban is going to do that because he's got the talent, and I think Coach Saban is going to take advantage of where he's getting a good, competent OC. At least I hope so. So let's see. Roll Tide Roll. Let's see. Hit the like button, subscribe with your friends. Let's see. Stephen Hicks says it's like the military. You fight for men beside you, happen to pride, being the best man up or kick rocks with all the other candidates. Great comment. I was listening to Dion bring it back to Coach Prime. He was basically saying he wants guys not only show up, but show out. He want to let people know he's coming. He's not looking for guys that just wants to kick it. He's looking for killers. He doesn't want any of that mediocrity. He wants your absolute best, whether that's on the field, off the field. And that's what I think Coach Saban's got to get back to having in this program, guys that are no longer this mediocrity, starting with his coaches. Like Saban usually sets the tone in that football organization. So we need Saban to bring back and kind of carry that tone and get that, kind of urgency within the program back at Alabama. No more of this mediocrity, playing for each other, having that bond. Saban's got to get more militant and let's be dominant. Like, we should not have lost to LSU. I'm sorry. Coming off a bye week. I'm not going to go to that because that was so frustrating. Talking about that LSU game. But yeah, talking about complimentary football, you're looking at teams who play complimentary football in the NFL. When it comes to the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles play complimentary football, offense, defensively, special teams. Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, I think they're good. Miami, I think Miami's defense is right there. Offensively, they play complimentary football. Buffalo Bills, Minnesota Vikings, a lot of these New York Jets, wow, who has a really good defense led by Quinnen Williams. C.J. Mosley, Robert Saleh. A guy can really make plays. So Alabama's got to get back to bringing it back to Alabama. Alabama's got to get back to playing. Obviously, having competent creative coordinators who know personnel and has great schemes to put our players in the best position. That way Alabama can get back to being dominant and playing complementary football. Yes. So let's get to the student section. Let's see. We need more energetic coaches on the sideline. Also, I totally agree with you, Nick Saban Jr. We do, and that's one thing that Alabama's usually had under Coach Saban, where there was Scott Cochran. He kind of set that tone over Terry Jones Jr. So I know Saban wants to get all these analysts and these guys, but he's got to get some football guys and he's got to get some energy guys on the sideline, because you can watch the games, you don't really see anybody cranking these guys up on the sideline. You look at other teams' sideline; they have crazy energy. And you look at ours; it's kind of where very mundane, to say to speak. So we got to get energetic coaches on the sideline. So Coach Saban, if you turn into Football University, get some energetic motivators on the sideline. Maybe you're one of your strength coaches. Let's see. William Bryan says, I know Scott Frost couldn't make it as Nebraska's head coach, but do you think he could make it as a coordinator? I think he could. I think Scott Frost could be a name that could be a coordinator. I wouldn't just give him the OC title just yet. If it was me, saying I'm putting on my Coach Saban hat, I bring in Tulane's offensive coordinator. Let's say Bill O'Brien goes to the league, goes to the Patriots. But I bring in Tulane's offensive coordinator, but then I make like a Joe Cox, or I bring in a Scott Frost to either be an analyst but to be an assistant. That way he can learn under, maybe, the offensive coordinator. That way he can, if he maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, if it's a Garrett Riley or whoever, they get another head coaching job, then I've already got my offensive coordinator in training and we keep the wheels rolling. So that's how I would handle the whole Scott Frost. But you look at Scott Frost's background when he was at Central Florida, he had those guys rocking and rolling offensively, so he can do a lot of damage. I think just what happened to him, being such a legend at Nebraska, I just think he just had so much pressure on himself that I think Scott Frost just overthought it and really got away from just little simple things about football. But to your point, I do think he would be a good coordinator, assistant, somebody Coach Saban maybe could bring in and learn under the offensive coordinator, and maybe he could be the next OC. Let's see. The Stephen Hicks says, I just hope Nick sees Bill and Pete and have ruined the standard, fire them and get better, or retire. No more excuses. This is what I would do. Like I said, bring in a Pruitt and let him be if Pete's the head defensive coordinator title, let Pruitt or Jeff Leonard, who's the University of Wisconsin's defensive coordinator. I think he's no longer going to be Wisconsin. That's a name I will look at, somebody along those lines, because if he could have good enough defenses in Wisconsin, just imagine what he could do with all the talent that we have down here in Alabama. I think those kind of him and Pruitt would be a great, kind of co-D coordinator. I said keep Golden, move him to safeties, move Freddie Roach to linebackers or Leonard to linebackers, and bring in like a Bo Davis to coach the D line. That's what I would do. Spencer asked, and I talked about, I'm high on Tulane's offensive coordinator. Kansas has a really good OC. He spreads it. He's good to go. It's a couple offensive coordinators out west, but it's not only Power 5 offensive coordinators. You look at the MAC. There's some really impressive MAC offensive coordinators, guys that can just put up points. I will kind of look at those guys and see what they do well, and see which one works best for the talent that I have at Alabama, and bring them on as the offensive coordinator. Kind of what he did with Jim McElwain So that's what I would do. Somebody, Spencer Ice, a great question. Matt, who do you think is the best running back in the NFL right now? It is Josh Jacobs. If we're going off this season, I'm going Josh Jacobs. If you're going off the past couple of years, just overall, you can say Derrick Henry. But right now, I'm going Josh Jacobs. He is the best running back in the NFL. Number 2, I would probably go Derrick Henry. Number 3, maybe excuse me, a Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, that type of that'll be kind of round out my top 5. Great question. So Matt, Stephen A just confirmed that Burton is coming back next season. What is your take on Jermaine Burton coming back and will he impact the offense for better? Yes, I think Jermaine Burton has a lot of potential. I actually think this is a great move. I didn't know what he would do, I think he's going to have a big bowl game. I think all these guys, the Tide is going to really kind of make a statement and really kind of separate themselves and have people looking at them like, dang, we should have had Alabama in the playoffs. But I think that's a good move for Burton. It's good to see guys, not just to leave Alabama, but I think he's a good weapon that we can develop and have some depth to bring. We'll have some leadership. We'll have these guys, these young, talented receivers, Kendrick Law, Isaiah Bond, Kobe Prentice, Shaz Preston, all these guys. I really want to get these guys more touches because these guys are hungry. And we got another recruiting class coming in of great receivers. Let's get these guys in, develop them. I think it starts with getting a great creative offensive coordinator, somebody that can utilize the talent and just, get Bama to being dominant, putting up 50, 40 points at ease in the game. Great point. Good coaching developed. Burton will help us win. Nick Saban Jr. does make a great point. He says these kids love social media. Do you think he needs to bring a social media guy to relate to these kids more? Don't get me wrong, I hate the idea of that, but Alabama's going to have to keep it up with these guys. I think Coach Saban. I think Coach Saban's kind of in his own universe. He doesn't need to have the social media type of person, but I don't think it can harm him. Kind of put up a tweet every now and then of kind of what he's doing every day, talking to recruits. I think that can only help because I think that will show a different side of Coach Saban, kind of a younger, laid back, kind of chill. I think that can kind of go over with a lot of kids. And I'm quite sure Alabama, they have all this marketing and social media. I'm quite sure they have things that are going to all these top recruits that probably they do that. So that is a great point, Nick Saban Jr. That is a great point. So we talked about the college football playoff. We talked about teams that impress us. We talked about MVP. We talked about complimentary football. We talked about the college football. Speaking of, can I say one last comment, one matchup that I think is going to be very good in the college football playoffs? Tulane and USC in the Cotton Bowl. Listen, I'm high on Tulane's offensive coordinator. I know I sound like a broken record, but that could be a good matchup. Caleb Williams. I got some homework for you. Put in who you think is going to win the Heisman. I think it's between Max Duggan, Caleb Williams, Stetson Bennett, and who's the fourth? I forgot. I'm going to blank, but I know I felt like Hendon Hooker should have been in there, or maybe a Bo Nix. Bo Nix numbers were pretty impressive if you just put his numbers there. But me personally, I think healthy Bryce is still on another stratosphere when it comes to all the other talent in the Heisman. So let me know in the student section who you think who's going to win the Heisman. Right now, I think they're going to try to push it to Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams had an opportunity versus Utah to win. I know he's kind of injured, but I think right now, if I had to put money on who might win, it'd probably be Caleb Williams. I think Stetson Bennett is going to get a lot of push, his story, walk on. Max Duggan, TCU. the story. I think that's going to be, basically how that goes. But I think Caleb Williams, I think they're going to try to push Caleb Williams over and beyond. But speaking of the NFL, speaking of guys, Bama playing, let's talk about the NFL draft. Let's talk about, we've kind of discussed Bryce and, these highly touted top 5 picks, whether it's Will Anderson, Bryce Young. I kind of want to talk about Bryce, and I think it's some teams that are out there who are kind of in the Bryce Young sweepstakes, so to speak. I think it's the Atlanta Falcons, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans. Those are my 4 teams that are in the Bryce Young immediate sweepstakes. And some other teams that could be kind of outside shots, the Seattle Seahawks or somebody like the Las Vegas Raiders that are kind of on my. But I think those 4 teams, the Lions, the Texans, the Falcons, and the Colts, are really locked in on the Bryce Young sweepstakes. And I think it's important for Bryce to go to a team. I think the best fit might be Detroit Lions offensively, what they do with Jared Goff, with the play action, running back. They have skill position of Monte St. Brown, Jameson Williams. When they drafted Jameson, I think they kind of set up letting people know Bryce Young could be our quarterback in 2023. So I can really see that. I think that's a good matchup. Houston, if he goes to Houston, I don't know if Lovie Smith is going to be the head man. I think they go after Eric Bieniemy or D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans brings in somebody as an offensive guru if he's the head coach of the Houston Texans or the Colts or Eric Bieniemy, head of the Colts. It's going to be an offensive wizard that is looking to get Bryce Young. So I think those 4 teams are in the Bryce Young sweepstakes. So we're talking about Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson goes number 2 or number 3 to Chicago Bears defensive line. I can really see that. So let's go to the student section. Stephen Hicks makes a great point. He says, I think they need to show the prime talk to his players, to the Bama players. If you're not here to buy in to be a winner, hit the portal. I mean, I totally agree. And I think that's what Saban's doing right now. The guys kind of hitting the portal. I think Coach Saban's kind of trimming the fat, kind of using this as an opportunity to get guys that are bought in, guys who don't want to, kind of getting rid of the, I don't want to say the bad eggs, but the guys that really didn't want to put in the work or work on their craft for us to be really successful. So I think that's why you might see some high volume guys going in the portal. And I think, like you said, Coach Saban does need to talk to those guys, or the portal guys, or when he signs his freshmen. That needs to be a thing. You need to be bought in 24/7 to the program and not settle for mediocrity. Let's be the best. So I agree with you on that. Great question, Matt. What Bama player this year do you think will make a great special teams player, and what NFL team do you think he needs more? Matt, what Bama player this year do you think will make a great special teams player in the NFL? A great special teams player coming out. I think somebody like a Henry To'oTo'o. Henry To'oTo'o will be a great special teams player because he's I think that's going to be his route to get on the field defensively. He's going to have to be an exceptional special teams player because he's a little undersized on the inside. I think if you move him to the outside or maybe to a safety type, he can really do some damage. But he's going to have to be an exceptional special teams. You look at a Henry To'oTo'o, I think he kind of fits the mold of those type of linebackers or special teams guys that the Patriots like to have. I can see Henry To'oTo'o being an excellent NFL special teams guy. I think that's going to be his route to have success in the league. Great question right there, Mr. Spencer. Somebody said social media needs to be banned during football season. Yeah. Someone said so can't tackle like it. That's what I'm saying. I think he's gonna have to be special teams is gonna be his route. Knicks kids nowadays are soft. They don't know what hard work is. I think, I want to say it's Coach Saban's kids, but I just think this is the era of college football. I think guys are they're not practicing 2 and 3 days anymore. So, but I do think Coach Sabins does have to kind of take out the softness. And at the end of the day, we got to be physical, whether it's getting in somebody, this new strength coach to breed more physical, get these guys stronger, bigger linemen. I don't want my linemen being 285, 290. I need them to be like 315 plus. I need them to keep that power throughout the year. So I think it starts with being physical with some strength coach, bringing in somebody who's brings energy 24/7. Whether that's you have some type of coach like that in the program, and I think these are some of the little steps that Coach Saban hopefully will address. That really can bringing back that Bama standard, that Bama factor, the Bama football that we've all gone accustomed to, and the dynasty will continue on. The dynasty will continue on. Let's go to the student section. Stephen Hicks says, Saban needs to tell players, don't worry about Alabama can do for you. What can you do for yourself and for Alabama? Yeah, I mean, Alabama's one of the greatest programs, if not when it comes to football, the brand. So you need to come in. And I think Coach Saban's going to tell these guys, I know he's on the recruiting trail now. Like, listen, we want you to compete, but we're going to develop it, and we want you to buy in. And like Dion said, don't settle for mediocrity. Go be the best, and that's what Coach Saban's got to get back. Kind of setting that tone, that culture within the program. Like I said, being physical, having a high energy motivator in the program, like a Scott Cochran, like we had in the past. Great question. Somebody says, how do you feel about the new sports science stuff we got going on now? I think it's all good science. You can get it all in the stuff, but at the end of the day, we need to be physical. We need to be stronger. So we need to be able to utilize this stuff at the end of the day where we can utilize the science, but we're not too sciencey and too analytical where we're not football players. We need to have big football players and have a good balance where we use the science to keep guys healthy, strong, strength, power, physical, and that starts with the strength and conditioning program. Matt, do you know if the NFL is using the strength and conditioning science program that Bama is using now? I think it kind of works both ways. I think Alabama's getting some stuff from the NFL. I think the NFL is kind of using some stuff that Jeff Allen and his team does. Prime example is the medical tent that the engineering students at Alabama, led by Jeff Allen, they created. So now the NFL has the medical tents and everything. Every college, high school team has the medical tents now. So I think it's a partnership going back and forth. Everybody's trying to, player health, safety is top of the line. But I think what's important for Alabama, we utilize that, but we still have a balance where we're having strong, physical, grueling program where we go out and it shows that these guys are just rocked up and just so physical and imposing that we just dominate for 40, 60 minutes, 4 quarters in the game, that to what Alabama's football is used to. Somebody said hit the weights and toughen up. I totally agree. You got to hit the weights. You can use the silence, but you got to have a good balance. You can use the silence to maybe help with injury prevention, different types of things. But at the end of the day, I need my guys pushing. I need my linemen pushing heavy squats, heavy lifting, just being dogmatic, setting that tone. I need all my linemen over 300, just bull rushing, bullies, physical. All my D linemen, exactly, because that's where it starts up front, and that's what Alabama needs to get back too, is being physical. And I think it starts with the strength program. So hopefully Coach Saban kind of looks into the strength program, tells, if he doesn't make a change, maybe tell the strength coach, you need to do this. It's a lot of great strength coaches. Oregon, Shot Williams, former Alabama player, can really bring back Cochran. It's a lot of options I think he could do to really set the tone and get physical with the players and really set that tone and have that mindset of not being denied, being dominant, and being Bama dominant and being Bama tough and Bama physical football that we want to do, the brand that we're so accustomed to. So thanks for all the comments, all the questions in the student section. We're gonna keep it rolling. Let's see. We talked about everything that I wanted to discuss. I do want to discuss, upcoming football Sunday. We got some good matchups. I want to see how Miami bounces back. I really want to see how Tua bounces back. Tua is going to play against Justin Herbert. Tua Herbert, that's a good matchup. I think Tua is 1-0 versus Herbert. They're playing back on the West Coast, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Miami Dolphins bounce back. I think it's a Sunday night game, so tune in to see the Herbert Miami matchup. I think it's gonna be a good matchup. Don't want to watch the Broncos, but I think I'm interested to see how Miami bounces back. And I think if they get a good victory, they're going to kind of set the tone and separate themselves where they're still one of the top teams in the top 5-6 teams in the NFL. Let's see. Let's go to the student section. Matt, is it true that too much muscle mass above tendons causes problems? I mean, that could be, but I think it's important that, athletes drink tons of water and stretch. You have to stretch. Stretching, yoga, all these type things really go a long way into injury prevention. Just drinking tons of water and hydrating can help do a lot of injury prevention. Someone say you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. It's up to the individual. If you don't have the heart, get off my Crimson Tide. Man, Steven, I like the way I like your attitude. And I think that's being, we love to bring it back to Alabama here at Football University. I think that's been kind of the biggest frustrations from Alabama fans is, seeing, the fans sometimes seem like they wanted it more. I talked about the LSU game, and I promise you, I don't want to get you all upset, but, the LSU game, you have to be physical. You have to hit them in the mouth. That's the only way you're going to be able to win these tough SEC games. You have to be physical up front. And that's what's been the frustrating part about Alabama football. We've kind of been having bad play calling on top of, seeing guys not being, giving it their all. It's just been very stressful. So, like I said, a great comment, Stephen Hicks. Another game to watch out for this Sunday, Jets-Bills. I know the Jets played the Minnesota Vikings. They lost. The Vikings are a great team, top 8 team. But Jets-Bills is going to be interesting to see what Josh Allen how does he bounce back versus vaunted New York Jets defense, and to see how the New York Jets, led by Mike White, think he's 1-1. This is going to be a very interesting game. Very excited to see that. So, but yeah, let's see. Any more comments on your saying? Drink a lot, work out. No, Spencer, no, I'm not saying that. Oh my gosh, the student section is off the chain. Reminder, we are moving to Monday nights, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday night starting next week. So I think that's just a great opportunity to talk about football here at Football University. That is what we do. Let's see. Any more comments, topics? We talked about just about everything that I wanted to talk to in class on Football University. I want to say thank you to all the fans out there, all the students in the student section. Y'all are just awesome. Let's keep it up. Hey, invite more people to Football University. Spread the words. Hit that like, subscribe. I hope you're enjoying the content where we talk everything football, find a way to bring it back to Alabama. But this has been another great episode of Football University. Remember, we're tuned in the next Monday Night Football. We're going to make it happen. Tell fans, if you got friends that are just football heads, football fanatics, and they love talking about their fantasy or anything, their favorite NFL fans, have them tune into the podcast. Like I said, next Monday, Football University, here with Matt Caddell. Thanks to all the students, the student section. Have a great weekend. Enjoy football this weekend. And as always, roll tide roll to all the Bama fans out there. Have a great weekend. This has been another episode of Football University here with former Alabama player Matt Caddell.